Hello, welcome back to Madrona's Pulse Teachings. I am Iris. We are in eclipse portal time. It is still the day of the Pisces total lunar eclipse as I'm filming this for you. But we are going to do our astrology of the week ahead. We are talking about September 8th through the 14th. How are you doing? How was your eclipse day? I am sending lots of love to you. I always do love the time between eclipses. That said, it can be a little bit wavy. And really, I want to focus on one major theme for weaving a narrative of this week, and that has to do with everything related to eclipse season. It has to do with what's going on in Virgo this week. So pretty much this whole week, right? So we had our eclipse, and that was that sun in Virgo at 15 degrees and the moon in Pisces at 15 degrees. And they're conjunct the North Node. The moon conjunct the North Node at 18 degrees, the sun conjunct the South Node at 18 degrees of Virgo. Now the moon kept moving and it had its exact conjunction with the North Node not long after our eclipse. The sun moves more slowly than the moon. So what we have is this whole week of the sun coming into not only a conjunction with the North Node, but also with Mercury. So for the actual eclipse, Mercury is hanging out around 10 degrees. Mercury is moving and it is going to come to be conjunct the South Node and conjunct the sun. So we're building up to that all week. Let me give you the exact dates. We're going to have our Mercury conjunct the sun exact on September 12th, and the day before that, Mercury will be conjunct the South Node. So we're building up to it, crescendo, and then we're slowly coming out of it, but it really is not until the next week. Sorry, we have got our cat interruption. I thought Charlotte was just going to knock everything over. Here is Charlotte. She is my witchy little companion in this room. I meant to tell you, it is night out and you probably can't hear it, but there is the sound of rain outside. So for folks who are sending rain prayers to Nova Scotia, it is like the first time in weeks that we have actually gotten some rain. So thank you. And back into the astrology from the elements and cats. So all week we're building up to that conjunction. I'll talk about the energies of that. And then we're just really starting to come out of the sun and the Mercury conjunction in the South Node in there as we move into next week, which then will of course carry us towards our partial solar eclipse on the 21st. So we're talking about the sun conjunct the South Node and then Mercury conjunct the South Node and conjunct the sun. So let's just recall that as we're in this eclipse portal, this is with the South Node, a massive clearing. So it is a clearing of your Virgo ways, especially old Virgo habits that most likely were fixed into the psyche body as coping mechanisms. Now, on the one hand, we're kind of talking about there's 30-year cycles with Saturn that's going through Pisces and Virgo. There's bigger cycles, there's smaller cycles. This is eclipse season. It's an eclipse season that's happening as Saturn and Neptune are about to start and help us build new realities, massive dissolvings. We are talking about some really old habits. This is potentially stuff from childhood. It's intergenerational. It's those early intense environments that kind of teach us coping mechanisms that are pure genius. They're survival mechanisms at points in our lives. And then our environments change and our relationships change and we mature. And our body's psyche doesn't always recognize that it's time to let go of those habits because it takes mindful awareness of our body to do that and companionship with our body. And I have a whole video on this Virgo season about how we are coming into new companionships with our bodies. And this week is a clearing out. It is a clearing out of those Virgo ways that are habits that really usually manifest in ways that we're consciously or unconsciously also clinging for control. Because that's usually what those coping mechanisms are, right? When we're in an environment that is swirling around us, and if that swirling also includes childhood abuse or trauma or dysfunction or cultural marginalizations that aren't safe, we create these body-mind habits to protect ourselves, to survive. And they get so ingrained. And that's happening as a response to when we actually don't have control. And so it's a way that our body psyche seeks control. Exhale. I'm exhaling. Please exhale with me. Letting it go. We're in new environments. We're new selves. We're new selves being born into whole new realities. And so there's a massive clearing, potentially also coming with big insights. So if, as I was kind of talking about any of that kind of trauma response, body-mind mechanism, you had situations pop up, or you thought you kind of know what's being released, this Mercury coming through with the South Node and the Sun this may be a week for insights. This may be a week also when the body speaks. This may be a week, it's a wonderful week to journal. I know I'm big on the journaling, but it's a wonderful week to journal. It's a wonderful week to go to therapy and have some of those conversations, or book a session, or go have coffee with that friend or tea. It is a wonderful week to express what is being cleared, because it's not just the Sun conjunct the South Node, it is also Mercury. Now, the other piece, however, is that the Sun conjuncting the South Node can also be exhausting. It can be a drain. It can bring us into a very yin moment. This could manifest in body exhaustion, also body-mind exhaustion. If that happens, you really want to honor it, because if you're feeling exhausted, if you're feeling pulled into that yin place, going into that place is going to help you release what it is you're releasing. This is absolutely not a week to power through. It's because this is not like the Sun conjunct the South Node. That is a release. It's a drain. And so we need to kind of, whatever is going to support the draining, a massage, cupping, those types of things that are going to help release, that's going to be really beneficial this week, and also allowing the insights to come. This is, of course, directly after we've had a total lunar eclipse in Pisces. So also leaning in to those Piscean ways, that art making, that expressing through a flow that doesn't care if it's technically accurate or good, nature, inviting your reclaiming and your rewilding. That is important. There is also something about the rewilding of your Virgo ways, of that kind of Virgo witchy claiming the Virgo ways, because that is just so aligned with the bigger cycles and stories, and especially that Saturn, who right now is gatekeeper. Saturn is at the 29th, moving to the 28th degree of Pisces. It's the final degree of Pisces. It's been there for this eclipse, and then it's going to be at the 28th degree, and it's going to be opposite our new moon partial solar eclipse on the 21st, which is going to be at the 29th degree of Virgo. So that's also why this week is so important. These, the 6 weeks that we have this Virgo season it's a massive clearing and a resetting, because we're moving towards a partial solar eclipse that is going to be at the 29th degree. And I will talk lots more about that. But the more that we can release, the more that we can allow, the more that we can surrender, the more that we can acknowledge, we don't need to carry that way of being forward, because we're not living in that environment anymore, let alone we're moving to a whole new reality, and that reality requires a new self, and that self is the Aries Saturn Neptune conjunction that we're moving towards. But first, Saturn got to go back to 25 degrees of Pisces. So we're in a massive period of shedding, releasing, and welcoming and honoring. Virgo also honors. Virgo is dedicated. Virgo is here to sanctify the experience in this plane. So as you're moving through this release, it is also really important when it feels aligned. We're not moving with a cognitive, determined, analytic way of being right now. We are releasing that. Virgo can really cling to that, but Virgo starts in the body. It's an earth sign. When it feels in tune to honor and name what you're releasing, or maybe you catch yourself responding in a new way to a situation, and then you're like, oh, that like scared fear coping mechanism didn't just take over, and then just celebrate that. Celebrate those moments. Those are moments in your body mind that deserve to be celebrated. Okay, so it is big energy. It is clearing. It's still eclipse season. It could be wavy. We're riding those waves. There's one other narrative that I would like to talk with you about, and that's my gal, Vesta. Vesta is going to move into Sagittarius on the 13th. Okay, but what happens leading up to that move into Sagittarius is that Vesta is going to trine Saturn. So that's going to be Vesta at the final degrees of Scorpio, trining Saturn, who is at the final degree of Pisces. Vesta has been in Scorpio since the beginning of January 2025. This is why this is also so significant, because she had her retrograde like Juno. Next week, we'll be talking about Juno, talking with Saturn. But this week is Vesta. She had her retrograde through Scorpio. So this is the final days this week of Vesta in Scorpio, and it comes with a trine to Saturn. So firstly, what have we been reworking? So we're talking about since January. Vesta and Scorpio. Vesta is our sacred flame. She tends the sacred flame. She is our devotion to tending the sacred flame that is simultaneously our own creative spirit, sacred creative spirit, and it is the flame that connects us to Goddess. Vesta comes in the ancient world from the Vestal virgins who were devoted to tending the sacred flames, and that was in their devotion to the goddess. They were unique women in their situation because they left the house of their father and they never married. They lived in female community, tending to the flames of the goddess. So she is this part of us that is healing. And in Scorpio, she heals our depths. She brings sacred sexuality. She is a wonderful archetype and goddess to work with in healing any history of sexual violence. She is our sacred flame of sexuality. And in Scorpio, she is in our depths. And so we have had so many months of working and reclaiming and finding, Vesta in Scorpio is beautiful because she teaches us that it's ourself. We heal ourselves in communion with the goddess by embracing our depths, by embracing the parts of ourselves that we've most likely been taught to hold shame for. Vesta there says, this is part of me. I am not ashamed. And in claiming that, it opens our spirituality and our creativity. Sorry, I need to just, and it allows us to stop trying to other parts of ourselves. And in Scorpio, it is the flowing, it is the depths, it is the intensity. And now this healing, alchemizing Vesta, sacred guardian protector of our flame, trines Saturn, at the final degree of Pisces, gatekeeper in this threshold, the cosmic womb entering into Aries, being birthed. The bone mother Saturn is there. And this is old crone, witchy wisdom. It's a water trine. It is supportive. It is part of healing. And so especially if any of that clearing out of the South Node in the Virgo, if that is raw or exhausting, you want to lean in to your watery, flowy depths. You want to work with old crone wisdom, whether that is writing letters to Saturn or Vesta, or making or drawing with them, or watercoloring with them, or making music with them, going for walks with them, sitting and watching whatever it is in your ecosystem, the trees, the grass, water, ocean, mountains, pastures, whatever it is that is part of your ecosystem, you will find them there. It is water energy, so spending some time with water can be really healing too. And also to just give you, the 12th is when we're going to have that exact trine, but we're building up to it. And that, just like the Virgo energy, it's with us all week. Okay, so those are the two major narratives. Also, just naming that we are in eclipse portals. We are in timeline shifting as we're merging out of that intense eclipse. And, you know, it's like people are always trying to put things in boxes. It's what we're trained to do. And it's like eclipses are intense, eclipses are not intense. It was this, it was, you know, firstly, it depends upon our chart. But spend some time reflecting. Maybe nothing big and life-shattering happened on the eclipse, and yet did you have any moments? Did you have any moments when you felt an internal change? Did you find that you responded differently? Maybe you also did have big events, or maybe you were journaling and something emerged and it was very important for your own growth. Maybe someone called and you had a conversation. Big or small, it doesn't matter, but hold space. And also know that we're merging out of that these first few days. And that alone, coming out of a powerful eclipse, is usually has its own intensity, but that's happening as the sun is being drawn into the South Node and then moving on, beginning its new cycle. And that also includes the conjunction in its own cycle with Mercury, which also does bring us back. I did write down the date. Remember Mercury retrograde. Remember those months. July 31st, we had the sun conjunct Mercury retrograde at 9 degrees of Leo. So you can also think back to what was going on at the shift of July into August. Even me just mentioning August feels like it was the longest month. My August was exhausting. But you can think back to then, and then how you're moving forward, sidestepping, moving forward, new reality, timeline jumping, moving forward in a non-linear way, since we are in eclipse season and it's non-linear. But something has shifted since then. And so just paying attention to that, if you do your astro reflections, that's another way you can kind of bring insight into these shifting tides. And I am sending lots of love, and I will see you soon.